In this lesson, we will cover the track settings. There are only a few differences between track settings in the Lite and Pro editor, so we will cover both. To access these options, hit the Start button when in the editor, and then scroll down and select Track Settings. The first option will be Game Mode Settings. Select this to enter the Game Mode menu. In the Lite editor, you can only create Trials maps, so your game type will always be set to Trials. In the Pro editor, however, you will also be able to select Supercross or Skill Game as well. The second game mode setting is Difficulty. Scroll left or right to choose from Beginner all the way up to Extreme. Try to be consistent when setting your track difficulty. It is good to use the in-game license tests as guides. For example, if your track requires the rider to use skills learned in the A license test, then your track is hard or extreme, no matter how easy it is for you. Your next game mode setting is Allowed Bikes. You can use this to choose what bikes a rider can choose to use on your track. You can allow all bikes, just one, or whatever combination of bikes you like. Whichever bikes have an X in the checkbox will be available to riders to choose from when they play your track. After you've chosen your bikes, you can set your medal times. Be sure to test your track well before setting medal times. If you can, it's always good to get a few people at varying skill levels to test your track. Track description is next. Selecting this will open a text field where you can write a brief description of your track that users will be able to read when browsing Track Central. If you're working in the Lite editor, game mode settings end there, but for those in the Pro editor, there is one more option. Game Character lets you choose what your game character is. For normal Trials tracks, you're generally going to want to use the rider or bike, but it is possible to create game modes that don't use the bike or rider at all, like the Sphere Skill Game for example. In this case, you can choose Custom Object, then use the Select Game Character option to pick your game character. Some items we will discuss a little later, like cameras, can use the position of your game character as a parameter. By setting your custom game character here, these items will automatically know to use your custom object instead of the bike or rider. Our next option under track settings is Environment. In the Lite editor, your environment settings are limited to a few presets. First is Time of Day. Time of Day basically sets the height of the sun in the sky. Set it towards the middle and the sun will be high in the sky, closer to the edges and the sun will be closer to the horizon, creating longer shadows. Next is Longitude. This determines the angle of your sun. An easier way to think about these two settings is that time of day moves the sun up and down, longitude moves the sun left and right. The last setting is Weather Condition, which consists of some presets that mainly change the thickness and color of the fog. In the Pro editor, you can create some custom environment settings, which will get its own tutorial a little later. Our last track setting option is the Music Playlist. The first checkbox decides whether or not your map will play music. If an X is in this checkbox, your track will play music from the in-game playlists. If you choose to have music, you can then move on to the playlist type. You can choose between two different preset playlists, or create your own custom playlist. If you choose to make a custom playlist, a few more options pop up. The first checkbox determines if your tracks will play in random order or the order of the playlist. The next option, Select Song, will take you to another menu where you can choose which tracks to use from the game's soundtrack. But before you select your songs, you may want to clear the current list. By default, when you select Custom Playlist, it gives you a full playlist. The tracks that are currently in your playlist appear in the box below the Select Song option. You can clear each song with the X button, or use A to replace one track with another.